Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm basically going to be explaining to you how to input data in the Kotlin programming language. So we've already looked at variables and how to basically output data or text on the screen or the console. And now it's time to basically learn, a very important thing is to learn how to input data into the Kotlin programming language, so you can either store it as a variable or manipulate it in whatever way you want. So let's create a new class. So if you guys remember, you go to your src folder and let's create a new Kotlin file or class, and let's call it input data. All right, let me actually just capitalize this so it looks neat. So we're going to say input data, that's the name of the class, and it's going to create it. And let's get rid of this comment right here. So let's create the main function. So function main args array string, and let's open that as a function. Now basically how I'm going to explain this is using the help of a simple program that will make understanding how to input data very simple. So let me first show you the command that is used to input data, and the command that's used is the readline command. As you can see, Kotlin already recognizes it. So this is the command that we're going to be using. Now, the simple program that I'm going to be using is a program that will basically ask the user to input their name and their age, and it's going to display their name and their age. Pretty simple, but it's going to basically summarize all that we've learned so far in terms of variables, inputting data and outputting data. So let's get started. To get started, all we have to do is we basically ask the user to input their name. So we're going to use a print line statement, and we're going to say, please enter your name. All right, and we're going to use a colon, and we're going to give it a space to make it look neat. All right, so we've printed on one line, please enter your name. Now we need to basically allow Kotlin to input basically your name and to store it in a variable. So let's create a variable called name, all right, which is obviously going to be a string, but we don't need to enforce that. So variable name equals to read line and open and close the brackets. So it's going to basically read whatever name you enter in string format, and then it's going to save it. Or assign it in the variable name. So now the variable name equals to your name once you have entered this. Now let's basically create another another text. Let's output some other text saying, please, sorry about that, let me just open these quotation marks, please enter your age. All right, now basically we've asked the user to enter their age. So very simple. Now we're going to say variable age, but now we want the age to be in integer format, because it will not be very useful if we enter the age in string format, and it just complicates it a lot. So we want to make sure we enforce the data type as int, and we're going to say is equals to read line. All right, now once you enter that, you will get an error, and the error will be on this read line section, and that's because read line is going to basically, it's going to assign the default data type. It's going to read whatever you enter and register it as a string, but we've already declared it as an int. So it's going to confuse the compiler or the editor and say, wait a minute, he has basically said that the age variable is an integer, can only be an integer, but in terms of read line we can only read in terms of string. So we need to convert the string into an integer. How do we do this? We do this by using two exclamation marks and using the dot operator, dot to int. All right, so we're basically converting read line, which basically reads a default, it will read by default in a string format. So we're converting it into an integer format so that it can basically store your age as an integer. So what's happening here is you've created a variable called age, and you want to make sure that it only stores integer values as for the variable. But when we say read line, it's going to automatically assign the data type as a string. That's why we got the error. So we have to convert the string into the integer. and once it's converted, it's going to basically save it. It's going to give the value of whatever age you entered, and it's going to declare it to that variable. So basically we've already, once this line is entered, now it's saved both of the variables, and they both have a value, the name and the age of whatever you've entered. Now we basically want to output what we've entered. So this is where we're going to summarize the concatenation section. So print line, and we're going to say your name is, and we're going to use the space and the concatenator operator, and we're going to say plus your name is, and we're going to say name because the variable already has the value, and we're going to use another concatenation operator and say your name is, and you are, and we're going to give it a space and another concatenation operator, you are age. Okay, that's your age, that's how old you are, age plus, we're going to open the quotation marks, space, years old. So that's basically going to take your name and your age, and it's going to include it into this sentence, and hopefully this sentence will make sense once we've entered everything. So once that's done, we are basically done with the program. All you have to do is hit Ctrl S to save, and let's run this program. By the way, you can also run the program from up here, and you can also get into debugging, which I'll get to in the future. So just run the program. Again, if this is your first time running the program, it'll take quite a while. So just let it finish configuring the compilation, and just let it compile everything together, and let's see what we get. So it's going to ask me here, please enter your name. Well, okay, I'll enter my name. My name is Alexis. All right. So it's going to say, okay, please enter your age. And you can say 19. All right. So once I enter 19, it's going to say, your name is Alexis and you are 19 years old. Pretty awesome. So it basically allowed me to input data in whatever data type that I wanted. We wanted string for the name, it did that. We wanted to convert basically the age and make sure that it stores the value of the variable as an integer, and it did that. We also wanted to display what we stored in variables, and it did that. So that's basically inputting data in a nutshell, and that's basically how to input data into Kotlin. Very, very important in Kotlin, and I hope you guys found this helpful. So that's it for this video, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, what I'm going to be explaining is comments and commentation, and why it is important in programming. So this does not only apply to the Kotlin programming language. For those of you who are beginners to programming, the use of comments or commentation is very, very important. And what they're used for is basically giving a description of what the code is doing. So it's very, very simple to add a comment in Kotlin. All you have to do is add a /2/ basically make a comment. So let me explain how this would basically pan out or work in real life. So let's say you're writing a program to display someone's name. So we would say variable name, and we're going to make sure that it's we can just give it a value, and we can say John. All right, now after a while, this basically, if you're writing a lot of code, you'll basically understand what I mean. We create another variable for age, all right, and the value of age is actually 20. All right, so basically John is 20, and this we can basically say this information. So we can say this section is to be updated every year. All right, let's say this was information about someone, and we knew that the value of age was going to be updated every year, so the system should update it. And if we didn't comment this, we would not know that this is the exact value. So that's what I basically mean. So if we are again to say let's say variable DOB, which is date of birth, is equals to we can basically say 12 for example. That's just a stupid little guess there. I'm just trying to keep it simple. We can also say this is to be updated in correlation. Whoops. Oh, excuse my my poor little spelling right there. So I don't think you really need that. So we can just leave that to correlation to, I know that's already wrong, so we can just basically, sorry about that. So this is to be updated in relation to age. All right, so this is obviously updated when age is updated. So as you can see, it really helps in making the code understandable for you as a programmer and for other programmers who you may be sharing your code with. So that's basically how to comment your code, and I would recommend very, very highly that you use comments, because it'll make your code understandable and it'll make your code very good code. It'll be considered to be very, very good code. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, just let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Thank you so much for watching. Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm basically going to explain to you what null safety is in Kotlin. This is a new feature introduced in Kotlin and basically has to do with the null components of variables. So let me explain this by actually showing you how it works. So let's create a new class. I'm going to use a Kotlin class and let's call it null safety. All right. So once we create null safety, let's get rid of this commentation. And let's create a function main. We're going to create an arguments with an input of array with string. All right, and we're going to open it as a function. So this is the main function. Now what I mean by null is basically means 0 or no value. So if we were to create a variable of a, all right, and we were basically to say variable a, let's say, is int, all right, and we go down. So I've basically enforced the fact that variable a is going to use the data type of an integer, so that we already know that. So let's say a is equals to 20. All right, so we've given it a value, and now let's say we print a. All right, now this already is a fully working program, and this will basically output 20. So let's try and run that and let's see what we get, just to confirm that everything so far makes sense that we've learned. All right, so there we are. So we get 20. So we know everything's working. But when it comes to programming, you will come across a few instances where you will have to use basically the value null. And what this means, all right, is that this variable might not have or need a value. Okay, now when it needs this, you basically have to change a few things when declaring the variable. So let's go through this step by step. We declared the variable a and made sure that it was enforced. Is going to use the data type integer only. All right, now in a we basically have given a the value of null, which means that this variable does not have a value and will probably not need one. All right, and we've basically printed a, which in theory should print null. Okay, but we are getting an error here saying null cannot be a value of a non-null data type integer, which means that we did not declare the variable with the option that this variable could be a null. What I mean is that as we did in the previous video, when I was declaring a data type, you saw me putting a question mark. All right, what this question mark means is that this variable is expecting a value, like I explained, a value of type integer or no value at all, meaning it can accept any other variable. It can say, for example, a, we have declared it as null. As you can see, the error is gone, and this basically means a can be null, or I can say a is equals to 10. All right, and it's going to print. It's going to first go through the program saying, okay, Alexi has said a variable a is basically an integer data type, and it's going to basically accept a value, or it will basically accept a null value. Okay, so that's what I basically meant. So now if we control save and we printed this and we run this program, we'll basically get the result of null. All right, there we are. So to summarize, what I meant was, when declaring a variable, all right, if there is a possibility that the value of the variable may be null, always use the question mark, just in case there is that possibility. But when you don't need it and the value of the variable will never be a null, just remove the question mark and you can basically go about it as you would any other variable. So as you can see, variable a is of integer data type. we know that it's accepting values, and it's going to accept a value of data type integer, and indeed we do give it a value of 10, and it's going to print a as 10. But again, if there's a possibility that this variable may be of type null, use a question mark, and that means that it's going to accept either an integer data type or a null data type. So if I enter null, it's basically going to print null. So that's basically it for this video, guys. Another very important thing that you guys had to learn. If you have any questions, let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Goodbye.